Hey, everybody. Welcome to this podcast that we call Leading by Following. You think, well, hey, I'm not a leader. Yes, you are. Everybody is looking to somebody to take their cues about life and about faith. So we're all leaders, and so who we follow matters. And today, we're talking to an amazing leader from this church family, this staff, Caroline Fogle, who is our Director of Operations. It's an amazing conversation. You're going to learn not just about her, but you're going to learn about how to be a better leader where you are. So give it a listen. Well, hey, good morning, Caroline.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great. I think I'm better than you are.
Yeah, probably.
I think you've been anxiously awaiting this moment.
So excited to be here.
Yeah. Well, seriously, I'm excited and thankful that you're willing to give us some time, because there are so many people who see you and they know you from a distance, but they don't really know you, and this is going to be an incredible gift to them. Yeah. So let's just kind of start from the beginning. Tell us a little about who you are, your family, just to kind of give us a snapshot.
Okay. Well, I started attending here in the mid-90s with my parents when I was still in late middle school, early high school, when we moved here. So that's a long time. Went to the University of South Carolina, got a degree in retail management and fashion merchandising.
Woo-hoo. So that's why you can always tell me what Dawn Staley's wearing, how much it cost.
Yes.
That's awesome.
That's all I care about when it comes to basketball. But went on to work for a major corporation in the retail world, climbed the ladder, and then met Ryan. And that was in my late 20s. And we were both working very difficult jobs, demanding jobs. We loved what we were doing. But to focus on our marriage, I decided to step back.
That's awesome.
And I ended up being employed here and hired by you.
That's amazing. So when I'm thinking back to that season for you, is it okay to say what major corporation, or I shouldn't say
Yeah,
that?
no problem.
Okay.
It was Target.
Yeah, you were a Target executive, and you traveled around and literally built stores for Target.
Yes. So at the end of my career, I was remodeling, building, and fixing broken stores in about 4 states.
That's amazing. And so you leave that because it's like, hey, family first.
Yes.
Right? I've got to focus on my family. I've been climbing the ladder, climbed it really quickly, really, really high. But I heard this story a while back. It's like this one guy, he'd spent his entire life climbing the ladder. And he said, I've gotten to the top and realized I had my ladder leaning against the wrong building. So it's almost like you were climbing it, but you realized before you spent your entire life, like, wait a minute, I'd like to lean my ladder. Nothing wrong with this building, but I'd like to lean it against a different one. And we are so blessed that you did. So, yeah, the hiring process, I'm reading your resume. Of course, I know you, and I'm looking at this thing thinking, and the personnel committee we call staff parish relations, they look at me and say, what do you think? I was like, she's amazing. If we could get her, it'd be amazing. She will be bored to death because you were coming in at an entry-level spot back in the day when we could still use the S word.
Yes.
Right? Secretary. Yeah. And you basically were going to answer the phones and make sure the bulletins were right and file some stuff, and that was about it. I'm thinking, no way. She won't last. She will go crazy. But what you did was you took something that was entry level and you made it something that was executive level, and you just blew that relationship up in the best kind of way. And all of a sudden, things just started happening over the years, right? So you came in at that level. What happened?
So that was 18 years ago.
That's crazy.
It is.
That's crazy.
It is. And that was back when the staff was uber small. You would put us on watering schedules to water the pots out by the doors.
Did you really? Yeah, you did bring that up.
Yes, yes.
Should I say I'm sorry? Is that what I should say?
Look, when they would break, I would be like, we're not replacing those. So started there. The staff started growing, and more positions were coming full time. And I think at some point in time, 13 years ago, I had a child by this point. I had one son, Aiden, who's 17. He's going to be a senior next year.
The man.
Breaking my heart. But he was a toddler when you guys made this decision to we need a director of operations. And at that time, you asked me if was that something I was interested in, and I still wasn't ready to change from mom mode, mom number one first priority. He was still very young. To where I was attending night meetings and and I was going to miss out on some of Aiden's key moments. Only having one child, a lot of firsts are your last. You know this with Andrew.
Indeed. Yeah.
So you guys hired Rick. He did an amazing job.
10 years.
Yeah. And I got my first taste of it when he went out on the trail and I filled in for him. And he came back a different man on the trail, and he started leaning towards retirement. And you guys approached me again, and I was ready. So that was during COVID. Not a great time to take on a new role.
Perfect, just perfect. Yeah. So I'm thinking back to when Rick decided. You said he came back, different man, different priorities, and he's like, "Hey, boss, I think I'm gonna step out." And I'm like, yeah. And before he and I could really go anywhere else, I looked at him, he looked at me, and we said, well, we know who it is. We know who it is. No need for a nationwide search. The next director of ops is about 2 doors up the little hallway. And so one of the greatest days in my ministry life was when you said yes to it. And I sensed, too, that you were ready. Aiden was older, but I want to say, too, a word to the other moms, dads, those who have potential job moves that are really enticing, could be really beneficial financially, all those kind of good things. But if you've got a little tug in your heart saying, man, I feel like I need to spend these years at a different type pace where I can spend more time with my kid or kids, please listen to I believe that's the Holy Spirit tugging on your heart. And when the time's right, that opportunity will circle back and you will be ready. And so I'm so glad it circled back, and I'm so glad you were ready for it. Now, people hear director of operations. Come on, that sounds huge, right? What exactly does it entail?
I guess the biggest thing it entails is being a support person or putting a support system in place for everybody else to be able to do their jobs or their ministry area. That's the quickest, easiest way to summarize it. Balancing, making sure the budget's where it needs to be. People are, have what they need to do their jobs. HR, keeping the lead pastor, making sure he knows what he needs to know. So it's quite a bit. I spend a lot of time in meetings.
Yes. Your one-on-ones with each of the staff. I just remember when we really kind of emphasized that, and that kind of rose up on the agenda of priorities. I don't know of any better system out there that produces unity in the staff. Staff people feel heard every week. If they've got concerns, if they've got needs, they know you're their champion. You do. You fight for the staff. And you protect what needs to be protected in their lives. Like, make sure you use your time. Take care of yourself. I have been for years so impressed by that. And it just brings a healthy balance to the team. And when the team is healthy and happy, great things. The speed of the team is the speed of the church. If the team's excelling, the church is going to excel. And so thank you for really being the fire behind that. And it's been amazing to watch that happen. So a lot of hats to wear.
There are. And one thing I wanted to add on to that is, and this was just like it was at Target, my success comes from the staff's success. If they're not successful, I'm not successful. So, so that's why, I say, I am their support system.
Wow, that is so cool. And I can identify that a little bit in this year of transition because all of a sudden I can't measure success in air quotes by necessarily what I do out in public anymore. I've got to try to look at if Pastor John is succeeding, if the church is still moving forward, the teeny tiny part that I'm playing in that, I need to see that's my role, right? And so way to go for recognizing that early. I'm only what, 5 months in, I needed to recognize that. So thanks a lot. I should have had this conversation in January. That would have been really, really helpful. But again, huge number of hats. Sometimes you have to make really tough decisions too. You have to use the no word, even to a staff person that you've got a great relationship with. They're dreaming something. And I've always said, you've got a great ability to shoot holes in things that need to have whole shot in them. And sometimes when I would share a new idea with you back when, we were in the relationship when I was lead pastor, I'd say, Caroline, if you would keep your pistol in the holster and don't shoot yet, let me kind of get it all out on the table and then fire away. But it is a great gift of yours. You're not afraid to say no when no needs to be said. And so that helps, again, the forward momentum of the church continue. It keeps us centered behind the vision. If something's not about connecting people to Jesus, growing in Jesus, or sharing his love, you have this innate ability, this sense of discernment to say, I'm not so sure that's where we need to invest time or dollars or whatnot. And what a blessing to this church that is, and you are. So again, the many hats, saying no is it easy for you to say no, or is it?
No. Well, it depends.
Well, you just said it.
Yeah,
So.
that's true. That's true. It depends. Sometimes I don't want to ever come across as, gosh, she just seems like, she's not for things. It's not that. I just want to make sure that we're making decisions based on all the information, whether we like that information or not. But being able to, and that's part of my job, is to know what's going on in every area. That's why I live by that day planner. I mean, I make no decisions without referencing my day planner. So it's not the more the no, it's making sure that you're playing with all the facts.
I love that.
So if you're playing with all the facts, no, it's not hard to say no.
Yeah. And you say yes way, 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 way more than you say no.
Yes.
And I think it's, you just did that again. Yeah. That's cool. But I think it's a beautiful thing to be effective in your role. You got to be able to say no. And you've got to be able to see the whole picture like you do. You've got to have a heart for stewardship and say, this isn't just money. This isn't just numbers on a piece of paper. This is the Lord's stuff, and we're challenged to be good stewards of it. And I've watched you do that for 18 years. Like, yeah, you weigh it out, and then you make that recommendation to say, I think this is great, or maybe we need to think in a different direction. And I just pray you never stop doing that. We've been through some challenging seasons with you in that chair. Let's start with COVID, when you kind of started going, and you and I were the COVID police running around the sanctuary trying to make sure people were wearing their mask and spread apart. And I'm so sorry, the PTSD, I'm bringing that back for us and probably for some of the listeners. I apologize. But it was a very difficult season, and I felt like I was feeling the weight, some of the weight you were bearing in that. And looking back, I'm just so sorry that we had to go through that, and that you were in a position of having to make some difficult calls. And I remember at one point I just said, okay, no more for you. That has to just be me. Even if it's a day when I'm preaching, I can run around and do what needs to be done. And it was a heavy load. But I remember I think this was Brandon's wedding. And we were walking out. I was walking out with Ryan and your dad for the ceremony. And I was telling him, I'm just so sorry that, it's been such a tough season. I know it's been a lot on Caroline. And your amazing husband looked at me and said, she was made for it. She was made for it. And I'm like, you're exactly right. I'm just thankful to the Lord that, you're ours. And so, way to go. So we go from COVID. Actually, we kind of started with something before COVID called separating from the denomination. Do you remember that?
Vaguely.
Yeah, so we start with that in about 2018.
Yep.
Then we move into COVID from 20 to 2022-ish. And then all of a sudden, separation comes back. And it was on December 19th, which happens to be, Michelle, our anniversary. We're out to eat dinner, and the news breaks that there is now a plan to separate from the denomination. And you and I, my phone was out in the car because we were on our anniversary date. But when I got to it, I don't know how many texts I had, but it was interesting. And it was also Christmas break. It was the week leading up to Christmas Eve, and we had 72 days to bring everything together. So you and I didn't really get a Christmas break that year. That's okay, because what we had to do was vitally important for the future. And again, I just tip my hat to you. All that had to be done, all the documentation, everything. And I don't know how long that process literally took, but I know we started it on the 19th of December. March to whatever is when it had to be all in. And then June of 2023 is when we were out, sort of. And there were still things that had to be done after that. So that, from 18 to 23, is a long stretch of stressful, high-capacity work. And here we are. You survived.
Yeah, it didn't break me. I think what we went through in COVID thickened my skin to get me ready for the season of separation.
Wow, that's great insight.
I think it really, I knew what the mission was. And at the end of the day, I had God on our side, and on my side, and on my team's side. So I knew as long as we were fighting for the greater good, whether it was keeping our seniors safe in the sanctuary so they could worship during COVID, or successfully, helping get us out of the Methodist denomination. It was a challenging time, but the way the seasons went, it just, I think one season prepped me for the other.
Wow.
And we had an amazing team. It wasn't just you and me. Anson and Kay Reeves, rock stars.
Yes.
There were some days we were sitting up here on Saturdays, and I wasn't doing anything, but I felt like I needed to be with them while they were trying to pull paperwork. Yeah. And I'd be sitting there with my feet on the table just trying to encourage them. And they were rock stars.
Amazing.
Rock stars.
Oh, my gosh. Huge shout out.
Yes.
Huge. And other people behind the scenes, other people in the church, the prayer support was huge. Amazing. And I'm thankful for that way you framed it, that one season prepared you, us, the church, for that next season. And I think that is so true. And both of those turned out well. COVID, I remember Paul Allen saying, Jody, these are hard decisions, but if we can get through this and look back and no one will have died, then it would have been right and successful. And man, that was such a great word from Paul. So shout out to Paul for that word, because we made it through with nobody dying, which was amazing. Second thing, we made it successfully out of the denomination, and God has blessed and flourished the ministry of the church here. And so, it was hard, but we look back and say God was faithful. He was faithful. He answered prayer. He did it. He sustained the team. He sustained the church, because he had that greater goal in mind, that greater good for us, which is awesome. Now, those two turned out great. Sometimes, not everything goes as planned. Sometimes some little hiccups come along the way. And so as we think about that for a moment or two, can you think of a story or two, or ever how many of, this didn't go exactly the way we might have thought, but it's going to go in our book one day. We've always talked about our book that we're going to write, and hey, this has got to go in the book. This has got to go in the book. Some of those things we can't really share and probably won't print in the book one day, but one or two that could go in the book. Anything come to mind?
Gosh, 18 years. I've seen a lot. It's amazing. I love Christians. But just because you're a Christian doesn't mean you have a filter. And, just some crazy antics. I had an amazing team on Fridays. Way back before I was the director of operations. And 3 of those sweet ladies have gone to be with the Lord, and one has relocated to be with family. Precious team. Love them. Adore them. And didn't hesitate to tell me, if I wasn't wearing the right clothes or if I wasn't carrying myself a certain way. I absolutely adored them. And one sweet lady, I'm going to take you and Paul Allen with me on this, accidentally sent her to Jesus twice.
Yes, unfortunately, I remember that.
Yes.
Mm.
So to the point where she wasn't actually dead, we had a staff member send a sympathy card to the family. And it had gotten out into our congregation that this sweet lady had passed away when she had not.
Yeah, we had received a call, if I remember correctly, from someone
Yeah.
that said this sweet saint had passed on. And this source was very reliable.
Very credible witness.
Yes, yes, indeed. This wasn't a random person on the street. I don't want to say more.
Yeah.
But anyway, we took that as gospel truth. And so we did what we're supposed to do. We start spreading the word. And then another person really close to this dear saint got back in touch with us after the word kind of hit the street that this person they were very close to had not indeed passed on to glory. And we started trying to backtrack. And all I can say is, whoever gets to heaven first out of you, Paul, and I'm thinking this sweet saint is going to be waiting on us to kind of explain things to us. And she had a way of doing that. Yeah, she told me one day that her pastor did not walk hunched over. He was to walk straight up and down. And to this day, I try to straighten my shoulders when I think about her. It's a lasting memory. But yeah, I'm afraid that she's going to take us out. And so, yeah, we'll see.
I hopefully will be third to get there. So, you guys will get the best of her.
I hope
Love
you're third
that
as
lady.
well. Oh, she was amazing.
Loved that lady.
She was absolutely amazing. That team, I remember Fridays when you're fixing their iPads for them, they would bring their iPads in, and it was teach them things, and they just loved you. Oh my gosh, but you're right, they didn't hesitate to let us know what we needed to know.
Yeah.
And that was really, really cool. Anything else pop into your mind about not going I've got one that we hosted a Methodist pastors gathering here one time. And we had refreshments over in the fellowship hall, and I think coffee was one of the things that we were attempting maybe to offer that morning.
Well, we were filling in because this gathering, it was not one of our gatherings. We
Correct.
were just hosting.
That's correct.
They weren't very organized. So we were trying to fill the void of serving coffee. And Kurt Mitchell, our director of facilities, was with us to this gathering. And just we were trying to be the hostess with the mostest. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I do recall this event.
And you were referred to as the kitchen manager?
Yes, she came up to thank me, and she was like, "Now you're the kitchen manager here." And I just looked at her and in typical fashion just shook my head and said, "No, ma'am." But I've been asked, what I am multiple times. But that was probably the most interesting.
One of the many hats.
Yes.
Right. So mentioning of hats, we have this sign-in board over in the hall where everybody has a magnet, and everybody has a little picture on the magnet related to their nickname or their role or their function here. And yours is looks like a kitchen manager with a hairnet. Correct, right? And so some things just linger on.
Yeah, that one has stuck around. In fact, I think the picture of me, you, and Kurt is still on that window outside of Kay and Terry's office.
It is. And to everyone, it would be worth your while to stop by and check the picture out. You'd really, really, really enjoy it. But yeah, sometimes things just don't go quite as we hope. And yeah, we have to offer a lot of grace, and we have to receive a whole lot of grace, because the times that we jack it up, the times when our filters aren't in place, we're thankful for the grace of God through this amazing church family that they so freely share back with us. And it truly does feel like a family. It truly, different personalities, different wirings, but somehow God just kind of weaves it all together. And you're one of the point people of that. And so grateful. Just my nickname for you is not the kitchen manager. It's just the letter C. And I don't know if you remember when I told you, I just started calling you C because we have nicknames for just about everybody. But mine for you was C, because C is the average grade, and you're anything but average. You're off the charts in every area. And I can't imagine where we would be if you hadn't have been ready to lean that ladder against the kingdom of God work world. and has been such a blessing. And so, yeah, anything but average for sure. So we've talked about 2 major seasons. Let's talk about the past 5 months,
Okay.
right? Transitioning from leadership, the lead pastor level, Pastor John doing an amazing job. But he was a direct report to you,
Yes.
and now you're a direct report to him. How do you do that? That on the outside, to some people they say, "Well, that's got to be an impossible task." How do you go from answering, the person that answered to you, now you're answering to them, so to speak, in the flow of the structure, right? How's that been? How's it been going?
It's gone really good. I think what's made it the easiest is the mission hasn't changed. So back when we were separating from the church, it was same church, new name. Firmly believe that. I mean, that was what we tried to communicate to the congregation.
Yeah.
And I think we did that effectively together. I think this season's the same thing. It is the same church, just a new lead pastor.
Yeah.
The mission hasn't changed. The vision hasn't changed.
Yeah.
Who we love hasn't changed.
That's right.
What we're here for hasn't changed.
Yeah.
And I think that has been the key factor in this transition going as smoothly as it has.
That's awesome. Says a lot about Pastor John being able to step into a role and not feel too much about himself. You know what I'm saying? And now you're going to answer. That's not his heart or his personality at all. It's not his gifting. That's not the right word. It's not his spirit to be that kind of person, which assists in it. But it also says a lot about your maturity, emotional maturity, spiritual maturity, to be able to, now there's a new boss, and to report. And again, still going to say no when I need to say no. Final decision rests with him, but I'm going to shoot holes where I need to shoot holes. I'm going to champion and cheer him on. And I've watched that happen, and it's been really beautiful. And in that process, have you learned something about yourself? Have you learned something maybe you didn't know before about yourself?
I don't know if it's something more new that I learned about myself. But there is a season of making with change comes not only just change in leadership, but changes in how we do things. So where you and I for 18 years we were walking in step, and we didn't start off that way. It just became natural. As our professional relationship and our friendship grew. So with John, we're in sync because we work together. And, at one point in time, he did report to me. But I learned how quickly I was able to flip to his idiosyncrasies and the way he does things versus the way you do things. And I've always liked change. It's never bothered me. It's never ruffled my feathers. But I thought this change would be a lot harder than it was. And it wasn't. And I think that was because I had to relax a little. And remember that, that you two are two different people and you're not going to do things exactly the same. So that type of change was a little different than the change I've always championed, like, yes, let's go for this and let's do this at the church. That was a different type of change. That was more of a personal change for me, not a church change. So if that makes sense.
Makes perfect sense. So the learning there was, wait a minute, change is a good thing, and I've always known that, but I can even change in a way that maybe even quicker than I assumed I could. It didn't take as long. So the learning was, this wasn't near as bad as I thought.
No.
Yeah, right?
No.
It's actually been great.
And I think that also comes from the great support that you've given him, his willing to come and talk to you, to learn from you, your mentorship. I think that has been the biggest tremendous help is just the unity between the two of you. So it was never felt like I was choosing sides.
Yeah.
And so I think it's gone beautiful. I can't believe it's been 6 months now, 5 months, 6 months. It's flown by.
It sure has. Yeah, and it brings me back to a phrase Pastor John used initially back in January, maybe even before then. It's not new, it's next. It's that next step in the same direction of faithfulness to the Lord's vision, etc. That's brilliant. He's brilliant. It's not new, it's next. I'm still waiting on the T-shirt. I'm still waiting on some hat or something, but I just love that. And I think God used that in the church family as a whole, but also on the staff. If there was any uneasiness about how's this going to go for everybody here, it's not new, it's just next. That's brilliant. That is so, I think, from God, and so excited that's still carrying on, right? So thinking about that and the joy of that and the smoothness of the transition, and we're so grateful for that. What's one of the greatest joys about your job? We've said how huge it is. We talked about some pressure points and some difficult seasons. What's just like kind of the greatest joy about it?
Honestly, it's the people. We've through the years worked very closely with front desk volunteers. Worked with different staff members. I've seen the congregation change. And it's the people. And I think now that I'm in this role as director of operations, it's a little bit different than it was in my previous role, where I had these close relationships with a few, but not as many. And I think that's grown since I've taken this role. And I know more people's stories, more people's heart. It makes me understand them and understand the season of life that they're in. And I've got a couple of special friends that I just absolutely adore. That, some people might not necessarily make their friends. And those relationships are ones that I'll treasure for forever. And some of the people in the congregation have changed my life more than I will ever be able to change their life.
That is so beautiful. So beautiful. Shout out to Lois, right? Can I just say her name? That's one
lady.
of them.
It is.
Yeah.
She's my girl. She is my girl, and she knows it.
And she's got a lot of challenges for people who don't know what we're talking about.
Yep.
A lot of challenges. And you were so patient and so consistent to show her Jesus' love, the good, soft love, and also if she needs a little tough love along the way, you're able to do that for her, and it's all for her benefit. It's so good to see that, and that is a special relationship. Yeah, you guys will be, connected at the hip forever and ever, and it's been beautiful to watch that for sure. So hey, we're going to kind of wrap this up if that's all right. Okay. One of the last things I would want you to share, kind of with the church family, with me too, is what's one thing maybe that you kind of see on the horizon potentially happening for Chapin Christian that you're excited about, and you don't have to. If nothing comes to mind, that's cool. But if there is something kind of on the horizon that you're excited about, what would that be?
Yeah. As we grow, we're running out of space. And I think our next season it's really exciting. Right now I'm just trying to figure out where I can put a wall to create a new room so Jonathan can have a new Sunday school room, or how Natalie can get another bench in kids worship. And that type of stuff's very exciting for me. So as we look, most of you listening know that we've purchased some land. Not planning on farming on that land, but deciding what the next steps are for our current campus with the building committee and trustees and council, and working with our congregation through the next season as we continue to prepare the campus for more people to come and love. Come and know and love Jesus. And so that's exciting. That's my wheelhouse. It's what I did prior to coming here. So.
Right. All those past experiences, Nothing's ever wasted in God's economy. He's giving you those experiences and now using them for targets. Awesome. That's a great way to use them, but using them for his kingdom, that is so, so cool. And I'm thinking about General Siegfried, who's with the Lord now. Shout out to Miss Maggie, love you. But he used to always say, you're either green and growing or you're ripe and rotting. And I see you as somebody who's green and growing, and you want to make sure the church is always green and growing and not content, not to be satisfied with where we are. We can never. There's what is can be better. We like that statement. And you're always looking for how that can be. And I'm just so grateful that you're doing that. So grateful. And we're so blessed by that. And kind of as a parting word I'd like to share with you is there could not have been anybody better that I could have worked with for all these years. And the ways that you challenged me, were patient with me, the ways you were so consistent in who you are and how your heart for the Lord just grew and grew and grew and grew. And I'm just eternally thankful. 18 years is a long time. You know, there was a certain staff person that said, you'll never be able to keep an assistant a long time. Poo on you. 18 years is a long time. But I just thank God for you, Caroline. You're the best. And I wouldn't be who I am without what you did to invest all those years. The church would not be where we are, and it's not. And again, I'm praising God for that. It's a very, very special thing that somebody can have that type of relationship for that long in the professional world, and I don't count it or take it for granted. So thank you so much, and I want to say thank you to everybody for listening today. If you have any questions, hey, if you want us to bring Caroline back for another episode, she would love that. She would just be so excited to be able to do this again. Ha ha. But thank you, buddy. Appreciate it. And appreciate all you guys and look forward to getting together with you soon. Take care.